To all known sentient spacefaring species, the idea of warfare is considered idiotic, stupid, something you do if you are wanting to commit suicide. Reason being is by the time everything's done, even if you are able to destroy a whole species, you've lost half your planets, almost all your industrial base, and you're pretty much just a fresh piece of meat sitting on a stick for the next species that's want to take you over. Because of this, the arenas are now where each species can showcase their speed, their power, their offensive and defensive capabilities. For most species, this is just entertaining. Very few would dare actually to enter unless they actually have no choice. The reason why is the Vex. The Vex is a reptilian species known for the best aspects of melee combat. Their retractable claws are able to puncture and cut even the toughest of hides, even on their own planet, which is considered a level 3 death world. Their powerful limbs and tails can carry enough force to send all sentient species at least a dozen meters through the air with each strike. Usually, any species that receives such strike would actually meet their demise before they even landed on the ground due to the kinetic force they take. The Vex's speed, especially running straight forward, is completely unmatched by all other species. The powerful jaws can crush even insectoid exoskeletons, and the eyes are secondary to the heat sensors inside their head. This allows for unbelievable precision strikes. All of this combined has made them stand above all in the arena, and due to this, their intimidation is enough to even cause political issues, especially dealing with Vex royalty. Many times, just the idea of, we'll settle this in the arena, is enough to make many of their political opponents back away. It is also very common to hear a Vex, after finishing a fight, scream up into the crowd, "Are there no warriors that can put up a challenge?" Always before leaving the arena and going back to their gaggle of slaves and their life of luxury due to all the money everyone is winning because of their fights. Usually not because people are betting that they will lose. No, they bet how long the opponent is going to be alive. In the largest of the arenas, the Vex champion Drool was expecting to face at least 3 dozen opponents. This should entertain the crowd, he always thought to himself, and perhaps it would be enough to raise his heart rate at least a few beats. Though he was bored. Drool just wanted to get this over with and go back to his new slave. She should be arriving shortly, he thought to himself. A pure Vex with a very curved hourglass-shaped body, which is rare for their species, as usually they're very sleek. He thought that the strange shape might bring a little variety, as he was getting bored with everything he had as of late. Upon entering the arena, the crowd obviously cheered and chanted as he postured and waited for the doors to open. When they did, it was normal for all the victims to rush out into combat with him. He could then rip them apart and simply go back to his hutch after feeling the taste of battle. Sometimes, literally, he would be in the mood for other activities. When the doors opened, Drool was surprised to see the new creature being dragged forward. To his surprise, this creature he saw was in triple chains, and even being chained directly to the actual hover cart they were pulling him on. As the cart came to a halt, the security backed away, and backed away very, very quick. Drool actually thought this could be fun. He realized that this was a species he hasn't faced before. He thought to himself, this could be fun. It's been a while since I disemboweled a new species. And look, even security is backing away, pretending to be afraid. This is entertaining. Perhaps they're short on funds, and they're trying to push up the amount of wagers, thinking that this creature might actually last longer than a few moments. That was then the shackles unlocked and the new species began to slowly rise. It moved in a way that made Drool a bit upset, as it moved as though it's been sedated. The crowd noticed this too, and began to boo and holler and yell as they are not happy at this. They knew that every once in a while there was a bit of, shall we say, shenanigans, but this was just too obvious. Drool was not exactly happy about this, as he realized his own reputation was going to be taking a hit. He began to immediately scream for a stimulant, and one is shot into the creature's back. Oddly enough, the creature didn't even flinch. It simply reached over to its back with one of its long manipulators and pulled the dart out of the muscle, not even caring that the dart itself is slightly serrated to make sure it stays in. The creature then looked at the dart, nonchalantly threw it to the side, and then Drool watched as it stood. That is when Drool finally realized how large this creature actually is. He looks and can see the muscles moving under the skin as it continues to move as though it just woke up from a hibernation. He can hear slight pops and cracks as though this creature has been held in position for a long, long time. Drool then demands stimulants again. "Stronger ones this time!" he screams as the crowd roars to life, realizing what's going to happen. Darts are shot in all over, and the creature instinctively protects his eyes. With a speed in which the upper appendages move was surprising, even for Drool. Many of the crowd went silent as they saw how quickly this creature that seemed to be in hibernation was now moving. Drool then yells profanities at the creature, but this creature didn't even seem to notice. Drool realized that possibly this creature didn't understand words, but the way it looked around, it should. This is when a large blade was dropped next to the creature from above. As it looked up, others began to follow, and the creature seemed to realize what was happening, and picked up the largest battle blade, looked it over, slowly inspecting it with knowledge in his eyes. Drool watched as it held the base of the blade in one hand, brought the other hand up the side of the blade, and then grabbed it with its clawless manipulator and bent it down into a curve. This is when the crowd goes almost silent. Even Drool was shocked. How? Is all he could think. Realizing suddenly his pride was going to take a massive hit, Drool immediately raised his weapons and charged at the creature. As he roared in, screaming about how he's going to kill this creature, the creature turned and looked at him and realized suddenly what was going on. Drool swings with all the power and speed he can and strikes nothing but the ground. The creature had moved with even more speed than he did. Before Drool had time to realize what had just happened, the creature had curled up his manipulators into a sphere and drove them into the side of Drool's head. Drool ended up tumbling off to the side and landing on the hard metal floor, dazed and in extreme pain, as dozens of his teeth were now scattered across the ground. Standing up as fast as he could, he runs for another battle blade, then another, charging again with one in each hand, only to find the creature parrying one strike and stop the other. Drool realized that the creature had done this simply by swinging one arm, pushing one blade to the side, and then grabbing his wrist on the way down with the other hand. Then the creature in front of him held tight with one manipulator on that wrist, and it drove the palm of the other hand into Drool's elbow. The resulting crunch led to Drool dropping his blade as the elbow joint suddenly went 90 degrees in the wrong direction. In desperation, Drool swung his large tail towards the creature, trying to catch it on the face. The creature caught it and held it tight enough to cause extreme pain to Drool. Drool tried to pull it free immediately and started screaming, "Release me, you monster! I am a Vex, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by—" He didn't get a chance to finish his sentence as the creature pulled the tail with enough force to crash him into the ground over and over again, whipping him over the creature's head, slamming him down with enough time and enough force to make each bone crack and rupture his internal organs and spray blood all over the arena. After about a half a dozen cracks into the metal floor, the creature released, and Drool was alive long enough to hear the translation device into his ear change the creature's words into "puny Vex." After the fight, the arena was screaming for its new champion, chanting and yelling and screaming in multiple different languages. The security came out and tried to put the shackles back on this creature, but obviously it refused. Not by killing any of the security. However, when one got close, the creature simply grabbed it by the neck and raised this Zenchui up high above the ground, before simply tossing him hard enough, where the Zenchui ended up on his back, wondering if it was still alive. Eventually, someone smart enough to wave the creature into the holding area, trying to be as respectful as possible, realizing this creature didn't have a translator, didn't know the common speech. It was at this point the creature was actually given a translator. It took a moment to realize what to do, as it took a little bit of charades before he figured out to place it not on his ear, but actually below it on the neck. He heard a translated voice say, "You have killed your opponent in the arena. By our laws, you keep what you kill. All his possessions are now yours." The one that told him this waited for the translation to finish, and then saw the creature motion its head up and down ever so slightly, hoping that this was a term of agreement, as he wasn't sure. Eventually, he led the creature to the new hutch that had been prepared for him, and the creature seemed to stop and look once it stepped in. Seeing the large bed and multiple creatures around, he heard through the translator, "These are your new servants. They will serve your every need and desire." The creature seemed a bit confused as he was left in the room with the servants all lined up awaiting their fate, many of them looking absolutely horrified, realizing that this creature had just killed their former master, the most dangerous creature they'd ever come across. The creature just stood there and looked at each of them, simply turning side to side, and then eventually turns and then grabs something to eat. The creature dug its powerful jaws into a surprisingly soft and juicy piece of fruit. The creature made a sound that everybody realized was complete enjoyment, as though the creature had not eaten anything in a long, long time. It is at this moment that another strange creature, this time a smaller mammalian that only came up to the creature's midsection, walked in with a female Vex on a chain. The chain was attached to a collar around her throat. The creature could hear through the translation, "This is the last one, and here's the control module. I already adjusted it to your language." He then handed the strange creature an extremely strange-looking device, as the creature was still eating an extremely strange-looking fruit. Though once he gave the device, the small mammalian immediately scurried away, not wanting to be around this new creature. The creature himself examines the device and sees mechanical devices all over the place. The creature then bares its teeth ever so slightly, and this scares all in the room, as they believe the creature is going to then eat them or forcefully mate them. Either way, whatever's going to happen will not be fun. The creature then examines a little closer, presses a few of the buttons, then simply asks something to the machine in its own language. Then something came out. It was something they all understood. It was a confirmation of whatever order that was. Then they realized that their translator had actually started to register this new creature's speech. The first thing they heard was this creature confirming what it wanted to do with the slave-holding devices, and it simply said, "Yes, execute Order 66. And with that, the control modules all shut off and disconnected. Though the modules unlocked themselves, they didn't actually fall, not most of them. Most everybody who had a control module just stayed perfectly still, as they were unsure what was going on. They didn't want to move. They didn't want to feel any extra pain. They just stood there. The creature looks at them and is looking confused, and then realized that a few of them are on. He then reaches over, grabs one of the collars to a tall, skinny Loxan, which is very tall, even by this creature's standard, meaning that he had to reach up for the control device. Then he pulled it off and simply flicked it onto the ground. Then the creature looked and realized that the rest of them were slowly reaching up for the collar and slowly pulling it off. Coming to the realization of what was going on, the creature himself looked around and saw that the female that was brought in chains and realized that her collar had not released. He reached over and could see that it was turned off. The female herself shuddered at the idea of this creature reaching for her neck as she figured that she was about to simply hear the crack of the bones inside, and that would be the last thing she ever heard. As she pinched her eyes closed, she heard a snap, but it was the snap of metal as the collar and chains are dropped to the ground. The creature then goes back to eating the massive fruit, taking huge bites and then grabbing pieces of meat and just consuming it like crazy. The former servants are in too much shock to even move. Many of them simply reach up and realize that the collar is gone. They can't wrap their brains around it. That is when the newcomer Vex realized what was going on, and she was confused so much that she had to ask a question. She asked, "Master, why would you do this?" As she reached up and touched her neck again, "Just what are you?" The realization that he had torn off the collar with his bare hands was still in her mind, realizing that even drool couldn't do that. Even though the collar itself was disconnected, there was no way they could do that. The creature, hearing these questions, swallowed hard and, because he was eating too fast, belched before answering. My species, I'm human. I need freed people to help me get out of here to warn the rest of my species, and slaves really can't be counted on. So, now that you got those collars off, how do I get out of here? And, by the way, the name's not Master. Don't call me that. The name's Jonah. Jonah Hex. Hello everybody, this is Syntax. Thank you so much for joining me today on this short story. Before I go, I need to send out some special thank yous to a few of my supporters, and those will be MTF Guard, Erica Gem, SS Demon, Guardian Sage, Chris Dixon, and Sir. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, punching out.